To begin with, focus on health law. This will be presented to us by Mr. Kenneth Haber, who is an attorney at law. The moderator here is Attorney Ramesh Khurana of the Khurana Law Firm located in Rockville, Maryland. This week, Attorney Haber lays special emphasis on the issues considering concerns for ACA's impact on the healthcare system in the United States. Let's join these two attorneys in this dialogue.
This is Ramesh Khurana, attorney at law from Maryland. I have a great pleasure in welcoming Mr. Kenneth Haber, an attorney at law. Mr. Haber, welcome to our studios.
Thank you.
Mr. Haber is a former assisted United States attorney, and he is a practicing lawyer in the state of Maryland. We are fortunate to have him in our studios today, and we are going to ask him questions about the Affordable Care Act, which is the topic of today. And Mr. Haber, while we are talking about the issues regarding Affordable Care Act, and we are trying to understand the impact and implications on the healthcare system in the United States, my first question to you is, what are the implications for quality of care to patients and ability to obtain healthcare services in a timely manner? Because that's the key. If you can obtain healthcare services in a timely manner, so I think everybody wants to know.
Well, if I had a crystal ball, I could tell everybody exactly how it's going to turn out. It's an evolving process, and only time's going to tell for certain how it's coming out. We had, as an example, on a single state basis, Romney Care in Massachusetts. And Obamacare is very much a ditto of Romney Care. But this is on a mass basis, not just on a Massachusetts basis. It's on a basis of implementing overnight, relatively speaking, within just a couple of years, a massive change in our structure, taking $500 billion from Medicare, saying that it's coming from waste, fraud, and abuse, which there wasn't $500 billion of waste, fraud, and abuse, and putting it into another aspect of healthcare delivery, taking 30 million people who did not have health care and injecting them overnight into a healthcare system that is ill-equipped to absorb 30 million people. Should 30 million people get health care? Yes. Can they get it effectively, timely, and not affect the health care of other people all at once? I have a lot of questions about that.
Okay, Mr. Haber, very interesting. Now, what's the implication for future payments to physicians and other providers of medical services?
Well, when you're taking $500 billion from Medicare and you're saying it was waste, fraud, and abuse having it there, and that somehow the system's going to recover, that has a big question mark in my mind. They're trying many things to come up with $500 billion. They're doing audits, they're doing reconciliations, they're doing everything they can think of to try to squeeze $500 billion out of the system. $500 billion of waste, fraud, and abuse isn't in the system, so it's going to affect the doctor's ability to render care in Medicare. You're now taking that $500 billion and you're injecting it into the uninsured, which is a great goal to help the uninsured. But the fact of the matter is that it's going to have implications far and wide. People who have health care now are receiving notices that they're having termination of their policies. Employers are going to be greatly tempted to say, well, why should we bother, let them go and get it through the exchanges. There's a tremendous number of questions on what's going to happen and how it's going to be. Not a lot of certainty in any answers. There are certain things that I can see that are going to be coming into play. One is the ACO, the Accountable Care Organization. where doctors are going to be grouping together with hospitals to provide care. The Medicare Advantage organizations, MAOs, which are insurance companies that are providing basically on a HMO basis, or in some cases fee for service to specialists, healthcare through their structures, and you're going to have those competing functional institutions going on, and the patient may or may not survive the treatment.
Wonderful. Ken, you have explained very well what are the implications of ACA to hospitals and the physicians. Now, our audience comprises physicians as well as non-physicians, I would say general public. Now, could you please explain what are the implications to the general public of this act?
The general public is going to find it's more and more difficult to get an appointment with specialists. The general public might even find it more and more difficult to get an appointment to see their own physician. They may be stuck with seeing a physician's assistant, a nurse practitioner. There needs to be an injection into the system of individuals who can at least do a diagnosis and some sort of rudimentary treatment of patients. And when you have a limitation on number of physicians, you have to ask, where are they going to come from? It could be these secondary providers, nurse practitioners, advanced nurse practitioners, physician assistants, and the patients might find themselves seeing these people unless there's a real complicated type of situation, and then they might be able to get a chance to see their primary care physician.
Can you please explain what part will ACOs play in the provision of system-based healthcare?
Well, the ACOs are in fact systems-based healthcare in terms of their grouping of doctors together, primary care physicians and specialists, and hospitals in order to be able to serve the patients. They're creating a system, and they're theoretically, systematically treating those patients so that the patients will receive the services that they need. The question comes up, are the patients going to be receiving the services that they need? I don't have the answer. No one has the answer. We're in the midst of major changes in a significant 1/6 of our economy overnight. If somebody said that the auto industry had to change overnight, if somebody said that the IT industry had to change overnight, could anyone predict how it's going to change? No. And I can't predict how this is going to change. It's very difficult to see how it's all going to play out. I'm sure that the government is going to try its best to make sure that everyone receives the services that are needed. Whether they're going to be able to be effective doing that is the question, and I don't have the answer.
Very good. In fact, we are left with very limited time now, but I will take advantage of asking you two very small questions. Mr. Haber, please explain what are the implications of bidding for the opportunity to render services under a value-based purchasing of service system?
Well, right now we're seeing that in terms of the durable medical equipment. We're seeing that being implemented in terms of pharmaceutics. Both those industries, there's really no reason why the suppliers cannot be procured on a bidding basis. You have the same equipment, you have the same drugs, whether it's generic or whether it's name brand, it's coming from the same manufacturers. So the question becomes, for Medicare, can't they obtain it? And they're working towards that. I'm sure that the government is going to be trying to do the same thing with the Affordable Care Act to try to squeeze out some of the profit that the middle people have. So you're going to find mom and pop operations very likely frozen out of the pharmacy industry, and you're just going to have the major chains. And the same thing with DME. You're going to find more and more DME coming through the major suppliers.
Okay. Now you talked about specialty services, probably these will be diminished to the general public. Now, can you also please explain what specialty services will be shifted to PCPs?
Minor surgical procedures is one. If a patient needed to have a wart removed, does he need to be sent to a dermatologist? And I think what we're going to find is that the government is going to encourage more and more that the primary care physicians do this. More and more that the primary care physicians have the liquid nitrogen to burn off a wart or whatever else procedure that they need for minor procedures, instead of referring them to the specialists. Keep the specialists for the more complicated type of situations. The question becomes, though, if you're holding on to the patients at the primary care level more and more, are they going to be, because of lack of training in the specialties, missing things that the specialists will be finding and causing a delay in the rendering of services for more complicated type of situations that have not been recognized?
Now, can you please explain what is the concept of global episodic unit of care?
Yes, it's something that's going to come more and more seen in healthcare. The fact of the matter is that we have global payments at hospitals nowadays, and as we get more into the government involvement in healthcare, we're going to find that Medicare is going to be paying your primary care physician for episodic services. In hospitals, they're going to be grouping physicians together where the ACOs, accountable care organizations that have the specialists as well as the primary care physicians rendering the services, are going to be paid for their physician services on an episodic basis for a global payment. And more it's going to be going to trying to cut out the fat, as they would call it in the old days, from the payments that are paid to the healthcare system, the functionaries in the healthcare systems, the doctors, the suppliers, et cetera, et cetera. The question is it all fat?
Ken, I think we have got to wrap up. Cameraman is already indicating our time is over. So I would like to thank you very much for coming to our studios and answering questions which are very current, and everybody wanted to hear answers to these questions. I appreciate coming to our studios.
I thank you very much, and I just wish I had more clear answers.
We will definitely find one more session to probe you.
Thank you.
To find some answers to our remaining questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.